Hi, I'm Kelly Thomas. Welcome to Ingenious Baby. Every week I'll interview leading experts to help you help your child reach their full potential so that your child can become all that they were born to be. Why are some babies early talkers, and what does this really imply? Today we're here with Nicki Boyd, founder of a company out of Stanford University called VersaMe, an educational app that helps with your child's learning and development. She'll answer these questions and tell us the one single determining factor to your baby's future success. So, Nicki, thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
So tell us, what is the one thing that is critical to your baby's future success?
Words. In a word, excuse the pun. And that's obviously a crude summary, but 30 years of research out of Stanford and other universities from people far smarter than me have found this incredibly strong correlation between the quantity of words a baby, a young child hears, and the brain development that happens, and that determines then their later success in life across a range of measures.
Can you talk about the research specifically around this? Like, why the first 1,000 days, why is it so crucial?
So 80 to 90% of brain development happens in the first 4 years of life. So if you think about that, before the child even enters school, as we start traditionally thinking about education and the importance of education, you know, so much of the brain development, the brain growth has already happened. And the key determinant input for that brain growth is words. And that is oversimplifying it. So it's not just words, it's the language environment, it's the interaction that comes with those words. So it's the eye contact, it's the tactile, the other sensory stimulation. But if we have to boil it down to one thing to measure and encourage, it really is about words that's most important.
Don't all moms know that you should talk to your baby?
It's a good question. So I think that intuitively people do realize that language is important. I think a few things. One, they don't often realize how important it is. They don't realize how important it is to start early. In a world of distracting smartphones, and I speak as a victim of this addiction myself, it's very easy to get, you know, distracted and forget how important it is to be talking to your baby, to be mindful, to be present. So the kind of feedback we get from our customers are things like, well, this is great because it gets my husband to talk and realize how important it is he didn't talk before, or it makes me realize how much time I was spending on my phone. It focuses me on the most important thing rather than being distracted by, you know, opening the bills or the other things I do when I get home. So I think that, look, it's not the thing which is going to enable your baby to survive, but I think it's an important factor, and it's a valuable addition to best practice parenting and really optimizing the potential of your child in the early years.
Is it just the vocabulary that's benefited, or is it another benefit that you get from just talking more to your baby?
So the way they measure success, because that's a very broad term, is not just IQ, but it's across a range of measures. So delayed gratification, that's a popular term these days. The ability to finish school, the ability to achieve well, but it's not just about getting the best IQ. I focus on this optimizing potential rather than necessarily being the smartest in the room. So it's about optimizing what you've been given. But if you think about it, if a child, you know, very simply, if a child enters school and they haven't been exposed to much vocabulary and they can't communicate, you can see how a behaviour pattern of misbehaving might start to happen. And so there really is, and this is how this research originally started, is there was this, kept on being this view to kind of trace it back and back and back to the earlier years. You know, where is the failing in the system that is, you know, causing children to misbehave or go off the rails? And that's what it comes back to. So if we can give them a great foundation of language, of communication, of stability, then it sets them off on a good grounding for kindergarten and then beyond.
Does it matter when you talk to them, or is it, what do you say about the frequency and context?
If I go back to research, there is a maximum rate of speech, so a maximum number of words per minute that a baby's brain can digest, actually. And most of us speak too fast, and
Okay,
I'm a classic
okay.
example of that,
Okay.
particularly when we're reading. So most of us should think about, when we're reading, slowing down, and when we're speaking to babies, young children, slowing down. So I would never be wanting to encourage mum who's got home from work just to be rushing to get words in. You know, the quality of that engagement is important as well. I think it's about making the most of the time you've got available with your child, and I'm sure there's been plenty of stimulating time in that daycare setting as well, with it be the other children or be the carers in that setting.
I've heard stories about kids that come from multicultural backgrounds, and the parents speak different languages, and they ultimately have a speech delay.
Yeah.
How does that play into the role, like speaking different languages? Do you think it helps or hinders a child's development?
So I'm a massive fan and proponent of speaking multiple languages, even if it causes some delay in the verbalization. That's not to be confused with is a delay or problem in the child's brain development. So the child is a bit like with baby sign language. And why that's a really helpful tool is it's enable a child to communicate before they can verbalize and make sounds with their voice. And so with multiple languages, just because they can't yet make the sound with their voice, the input of that language is going in. And in fact, if you do multiple languages, if you give your child multiple languages, you're developing a fully different area of the brain, and giving them a foundation to learn additional languages more easily thereafter.
Is there anything else about the word count that we haven't covered that you think is important for a mom or caregiver?
As the child ages, it's more important to add diversity of language. It's more important to add complexity, so longer words. It's also more important to, and actually this is something which we would encourage, right from the beginning, even before they can speak, is what's called conversational terms. So it's how much of the back and forth. So not just one way from me to you, but how much am I saying something, you're saying something back and back. And even before they can verbalize, it might be a babble, it might be a noise, it might be a hand movement, which is, non-verbal, but it's still an important engagement. And then the length of the conversations.
So it's not just quantity, it's quality, like what you're saying and how you're saying it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. It was
Absolutely.
a pleasure to learn more about what you're doing and how I think it's important to get more parents talking more to their babies and off their phone.
Absolutely.
If you know someone who'd be a great fit for the show, come on over to ingeniusbaby.com and share your tips and story ideas. You are your baby's first and best teacher.